Hey everyone, Jono here, back again with another Forbidden Memories challenge run. In our last video, we successfully beat the game with Fiends and their Pocket Station variants, earning ourselves another star chip on the board. 12 out of 23 categories done, we're more than halfway there. Anywho, since the dawn of this channel, there's been one voice screaming over the masses, spamming the same comment as early as our Sea Serpent run. 3 words have rung out in perfect clarity: Bean, Soldier, Sweep. Foggernaut, if you're out there, what the frick man. Nonetheless, the day you've been waiting for is today, so plant your butts down everyone and let's get ready to sweep. Plants, like Pyro, are the most available type to the player in Forbidden Memories. There are 22 plants in total, with 18 being available in the initial deck and 4 unlockable as you progress through the story, Bean Soldier being one of them. Having almost every plant at our disposal, this is what our starting deck looks like. To give a fair shake of the source bottle to everybody, I've included one copy of every plant in the deck to pad out the empty spaces. Let's recap the rules for first timers to the series. The deck must only consist of a single monster type. That goes for fusions as well. Trading for our initial deck is allowed. This is because most of us as kids had 2 memory cards, so everyone on the playground would just trade over cards from their new game save files to each other. It's just how I remember playing this down here, and in retrospect, it's obscenely broken. But I'm far too late into the series to change it, so yeah, my bad. Moving on, the Star Chip Trader is allowed. Free duel must follow all the prior rules, and all opponents must be dueled. With all the admin out of the way, let the challenge run begin. Heishin has a craving for some moussaka, and he's rummaging through the palace warehouse for some eggplants. To Heishin's dismay, all he can find are beans. Heishin hates beans. Storming off in a huff, he heads to the underworld to meet up with an old friend, who just so happens to know a thing or two about acquiring eggplants.
Arise, great soldier. A grave calamity has befallen Egypt once more. The people are desperate. They need a hero.
Well, fetch me a broom, you fine-ass highness. I am ready to sweep.
What the hell is wrong with you?
They haven't come up with a name for it yet.
We are so screwed.
Simon, grab the oil. These salads are not gonna toss themselves. Alright, my San Bernardo brother, let's split up and look for some leads. But first, a warm-up. Let's start things off with a duel.
Welcome to the plant run of Forbidden Memories. How I've missed you all. We have access to almost 90% of all available plants in this game, which is good. I like a break from grinding. Though Bean Soldier is the main protagonist of this story, we regrettably have to unlock him at a later point in the game. For the meantime, let's take a look at all the fantastic plants in our arsenal. They are definitely not recolored counterparts of each other, he lied. In terms of raw attack power, the strongest standalone plant available to us is Dark World Thorns at 1200 attack. It will get us through all the way up until I think the 3rd villager. After that, we're going to need to use equips and fusions to get by. Let's pause for now because we're on the final attack. Hitting for game with Dark World Thorns, our San Bernardo brother goes down and gives us a time wizard. Alright Blue Amigo, we're going to check in with the people at the grounds and I'll see you back here soon. Entering the duel grounds, our Bean antagonist doesn't see anything unusual. Looking to pass some time, we decide to challenge the residents to a duel. With Teana being the easiest opponent in this game, let's pick up where we left off. Plants are splashable in most decks of the game, pairing nicely with beasts, dragons, females, zombies and warriors, and I guess that 1 or 2 fusions for fish. Having a deck consisting solely of plants, however, is where things start to drop off. Plants do not have any fusions among themselves, with the exception of one card, that being Arlone. Arlone is a friggin' amazing card. She has the secondary typing of female, which means that she can create Queen of Autumn leaves if you combine it with any plants. We are going to spam the ever-loving frick out of that. Outside of Queen of Autumn leaves, she has her own unique fusion being Rose Spectre of Dun. However, you need to combine it with a fiend to create it. But enough of that. Teana goes down, and we proceed over to the next villager, that being Giselle, according to Falsebound Kingdom of course. Juicy Boy should fall easily to Queen of Autumn leaves, so I'm not too worried about this duel, so let's continue. The strategy we're going to use with this deck is to run Queen of Autumn leaves against our tougher opponents until we lock the next set of cards. That's probably going to be all the way up until the mages. So with that, let's go over the spells and equips. Plants benefit from the forest field. Hooray for that. It's always nice to have access to one of those, it makes things just that little bit more easier. What's more, plants also have access to a generic equip card, as you saw on screen. As you saw on screen, that being Volgerms. Volgerms has a neat little perk about it. If you combine it with a Metal Morph, it will create Crush Card. I feel that I should be showing off more of these spell fusions in my runs. Given that this plant deck has a lot of fillers, I think we can slot a few copies of it here. So yeah, if I play my cards right, you're gonna see that. And if I'm extra lucky, maybe an extra Raigeki or two. Ooh. Anywho, Giselle goes down and awards us a legal. No losses thus far, so let's head on over to Malai-Ruka, aka Villager 2. Villager 2 steps up the difficulty in having access to monsters over 2200 attack. Does that affect us? Not really, he says in air quotes. Our deck is full of enough equips so that we should be able to hit over anything problematic, so long as we draw the right cards. The operative phase in that sentence is drawing the right cards. More on that a little later. The difficulty of these early game opponents comes from when you leave at least one monster on this side of the field. If they have a blank field, they're not going to summon anything too powerful. Leave one decent card on the field and you're sort of opening yourself up to a problematic fusion. There's some game mechanics that explain this, however I'm not too good across the source code. Just know that each opponent has a fusion card limit, which dictates how many cards in their hands they're able to use for a fusion. If you leave one card in the field, it opens up the tree that they're able to use, hence the problem. And speaking of problems, Malai-Ruka goes down, in sadly 2 attempts. Putting up a flashback on screen, I had a cycle where he pulled out a twin-headed Thunder Dragon. I didn't know he could do that. And also, I drew into a horrendous hand and couldn't hit over it, even after clearing his field with a Raigeki. So yeah, there's one loss on the board. Having restarted all the way from Teana, we make our way back to Old Greg. For those that haven't played this game, leaving the grounds will lock you out of dueling Villager 3. No idea why they felt the need to do that. So yeah, no saving between duelists. But to be fair, if you're wiping here, then you're in for an uphill battle for the rest of the game. There's some foreshadowing for you. Anywho, getting back to the duel, we have plenty of equips and queens, so we are more than okay. One day, I think I should do a run where I don't use any equips. Conceptually, I believe it's doable, however very reset heavy. Gotta remember to add that one to the list. Looking back at our field, we clear away Rocco Gogora with our queen and attack for 2-8. We are now down to the last turn of the game. Passing things back to me, we don't have a Raigeki, so instead we bring out some more monsters, attack once to clear away Pruzban, and follow up with another 2 attacks from our queen. We win! Old Greg goes down, and we didn't lose this time. Great job, Jono. In finishing off the last villager, Bean Soldier follows Teana to the Mage Festival. The residents of Egypt seem completely unfazed by the giant bean walking around. Better thank Simon for that one later. We cast our eyes across the screen to a duel between Seto and Jono 1. Nothing important happens. After a minor confrontation with Seto, who also is unfazed by our bean presence, we exit the Mage Festival and make our way back to the duel grounds. With another 2 opponents available to us, let's ready up our brooms and get heaping for a sweeping. Starting off this duel, we draw into a relatively dud hand, so we grow a forest on the field. Jumanji, eat your heart out. Jono responds with a Queen of Autumn Leaves. What the hell is with the AI for this run? Seriously, I have shot myself in the foot with this one. Going to rely on my trusty crutch once more, we clear the field with a Raigeki. I'm not too thrilled with how early we've been using these, but nonetheless in response, we have another boss lady to deal with. As none of my cards have a Venus Guardian Star, we cop some damage and hope for something better next turn. With 3200 life points left, we draw into... you know what, I can work with this. Powering up a Dark World Thorns with Vile Germs, we have a monster with 2200 attack. Things are now looking back on track. Jono responds with some defense position cards, and it's back to us to finish off this duel. I've prolonged things for as long as I can. It's time to kick off the monster trivia. There are about 22 cards worth of trivia we haven't covered off yet, so let's start dipping into things. In no particular order, the first card we have is Dark Plant. Dark Plant is available to us in the initial deck and is a recolored counterpart of Abyss Flower. As for the card game, Dark Plant is an OCG only card and had one minor appearance in the anime in the Reject Ball episode of YuGiOh GX. Dealing the finishing blow, Jono1 goes down. He awards us with Sparks, which I am immediately going to throw in my deck. Said nobody ever. With our duel concluded, Seto busts into the room looking for another opponent. We'll oblige him. Let's see if he can stack up against the sentient bean. If you hear any random sirens throughout the background of this video, that's just someone in my area trying to keep the property prices down. Not all heroes wear capes, some wear handcuffs. Anywho, getting back to the duel, we draw a significantly better hand than the last. Popping up a field spell, we have powered Queen of Autumn Leaves up to 3800 attack. GG easy, this duel is probably going to be done in 3 turns. As we're in the process of sweeping, let's continue on with the card trivia. The next card on the list is Griggle. I have no idea what the heck this thing is meant to be, I can only imagine it to be a Japanese iteration of a lemming. In Forbidden Memories, you can obtain this card via the initial deck. It appeared in the anime as part of the Reject Ball episode, and it released in the TCG in Dark Beginnings 1. And that's all there is to know. Seto1 goes down and he gives us a Dark Plant. Don't need it, already have plenty.
Well, there's nothing suspicious happening around the grounds. So long, suckers, I'm gonna call it a night.
Exiting the grounds, we check back in with our oxygen-deprived cousin and make our way back to our chambers. Simon was about to turn in for the night when he heard a commotion happening outside. Exiting the room, Simon finds the palace guards turned into eggplants. Heishin emerges from the chaos to reveal the new power he acquired from his trip to Underworld. From under his robes, he whips out the eggplant staff. Jiggling out of our room, we head outside with Fizdus, who gets captured and turned into an eggplant. Not her worst fate, at least this time she technically survived. Seto confronts and probes us for the Millennium Puzzle.
I don't have any pockets, so you're gonna have to check my prison wallet, big boy. Oh hey Simon, I was just, hey, you son of a klepto, let's get out of here.
We ditch the sitch and bump into Heishin, who drags us down into a duel. This is a great checkpoint to see how strong our current deck is. Heishin is the earliest opponent we can farm Rose Spectre of Dawn from. If we can BCD rank him, she will drop at a rate of 1.17%. Alternatively, we'd have to wait till the Forest Shrine, which honestly is objectively easier, since it gives you a free forest field and a much easier opponent. You'd think we have the upper hand with a stacked hand and a field spell, but Heishin humbles me with a perfectly ultimate Great Moth. This duel unfortunately is as good as over, even if I draw a Raigeki, he just simply had too much momentum. Sadly, no story Heishin farming this time. I'll revisit him in free mode after I unlock a few more plant cards. For now, we're going to have to incur this scripted loss. Hey everyone, Future Johnny here. My bean-sized brain, no pun intended, forgot that I can just simply reset and reload and reattempt this. I could have definitely gotten myself a copy of Rose Spectre done, much earlier than I was planning to later on. Never said I was smart, just stupidly persistent. Anywho, losing the duel, Simon grabs hold of Heishin and tells us to shatter the puzzle. Adding destruction of property on top of theft, we launch the Golden Pyramid to the ground. Fading out to white, we take a break and dream of a dystopian time where bean soldiers never came to life. Friggin' crazy, am I right? Anywho, welcome to YCS Quito in Ecuador, where the winning deck this time round was an Evil Twin Fiendsmith, whatever the heck that means. Congratulations on your victory, Josue Bakura, or is it Josue? Sorry, don't speak the language. Nonetheless, we make our way to the card shop and save our game. Let's not waste any time and jump straight into the tournament. Our first opponent this time round, and every time round I guess, is Rex Raptor. Rex runs the trusty Urabi Turbo. What the hell does that mean? His strongest monster is 1500 attack. Unless you happen to leave things on the field a bit too long, he does pull out some decent fusions. If you cop a bad seed, he is more than capable of bringing out a twin-headed Thunder Dragon. For now, we're thankful to only be dealing with a Skelengel. Having a minor brain aneurysm in trying to select a card from my hand, I eventually summon out a tree. I don't know what my hesitation was, almost all my equip cards only work with Queen of Autumn Leaves. And speaking of, I plan to change the current loadout of equip cards when we farm our next monsters. The plants in this deck over 1000 attack all use different equips. Things are a little patchy as a result of that. That's why we're over relying on Queen of Autumn Leaves. If you start going a bit lower, the monsters that are at the 800 attack mark have better synergy. For the time being, things are bearable. We will hit a wall midway through the tournament, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and I'll try not to foreshadow too hard. And speaking of hard, I have 2 Raigeki in my hand. The Raigection is real. Clearing away Rex's field, we attack with a tree, and finish things off with another tree, and Rex goes down. He awards us nothing that works for our deck, and we get ourselves ready to take on Weevil. Okay. What you are about to witness is the most handicapped duel I have probably done in any challenge run. This is some shardy level embarrassment with how poorly things have played out. Weevil, for the first time in any of my runs, managed to summon out something problematic. And no, I am not talking about YuGiOh. The monster he has set on the field has a 0.59% chance of being included in his deck. That of course is Job Change Mirror. And you can see the problem. Because I couldn't hit over it, Weevil summoned out a Summon Skull. I did not know he could do that. I had to resort to a board wipe because my hand was so horrendous. Now that Weevil is relying on a Crocodilus, I just have to keep dumping cards until we get a Volgerms or an Arlone. Weevil responds with nothing in this turn, which is good, but unfortunately I still draw into some dud cards. Dumping everything else once more, we power up Green Phantom King to 2100 defense and smack ourselves in the head attacking his face down Witch of the Black Forest. Using some further big brain strats, Weevil pulls out a Garvis. Again, not too worried, we have enough defense power, but to keep the momentum going, we're going to clear the field again once more. Being an absolute eager beaver, I decide to attack with Green Phantom King. That was stupid, because he now decides to top deck a YuGiOh, so we are in a worse spot than what we were in the last turn. Right now, we need to draw into some equipped cards. If not, we only have 1 Raigeki left. And having only 2800 attack points, I think I'm going to use it. Emptying out the field, the game at this point is friggin' laughing at me, because Weevil summons out a 2100 attack dragon. I have 700 life points left and finally draw into a Queen of Autumn Leaves. Bumping the bad girl up to 2300 attack, we defeat the dragon and pass things back to Weevil. Looking at the deck count, I only have 7 cards left. I really need to pick up the damage, because at this rate, we're going to lose. Despite this, I still risk it for the biscuit and bring out another Queen of Autumn Leaves, which leaves me with a fantastic total of 4 cards left. The game finally decides to throw me a bone and gives me the last Arlone in my deck. Powering her up to 2300 attack, we've got this. Attack 1, Attack 2, and with 1200 life points left, final blow and Weevil goes down. Though we achieved victory in one attempt, this was a total embarrassment. I used 3 Raigeki and over 6 equipped cards. In hindsight, Story Heishin probably wouldn't have been too bad at this rate. Saving and skipping, we're up to the next opponent, which is Mai Valentine. As a precaution to problematic cards, I'm going to grow a forest. And the RNG of Forbidden Memories has once again decided to slap me upside the head. Mai has whipped out her twin-headed Thunder Dragon. Seriously, where the hell are you, Bean Soldier? I friggin' need you right now. Well, guess what? Mai Valentine drops Bean Soldier. If you manage to BCD rank her, Bean Soldier would drop at a 1.95% chance, which is the highest odd out of any opponent. Alternatively, we could have gone back to Weevil, attempted a POW S rank and get it at a 1.17%. You can do whatever you want for your run, but for me, I'm sticking with Mai. In fact, if you actually S rank her, Bean Soldier would drop at a 1.46% chance. That's the second highest rate amongst all duelists. So yeah, sticking with Mai. Getting back to the duel, we clear the field and attack with both our queens. Getting down to the last turn, Mai summons out nothing, so we once again clear things out with a second Raigeki and finish things off with Queen of Autumn Leaves. We win! She awards us with a Droll Bird and we're immediately going to save our game and head into free duel. Using the 30 card mod of Forbidden Memories, we managed to get Bean Soldier in 13 card drops. I'm going to put that as 13 duels in the free duel tally. We slot out all of our weaker monsters and replace them with Bean Soldier. I'll show you the deck profile a bit later after Keith. Then Bandito himself gives us the next card we're going to target, after which I'll show the full deck. 19 minutes and 36 seconds in, we finally have access to Bean Soldier, and I couldn't have asked for a better hand. We power up the legend himself to 2400 attack and get ready to sweep. This just feels right. Bandit Keith cowers in fear. He knows that there's nothing he has that can counter the mighty Bean. even his 2 Gemini elves. As intimidating as they are, we sweep, and hit for 1100 with Barrel Lily. Going tit for tat with our weaker monsters, we whip out a forest. Jumanji, eat your friggin' heart out. Bean Soldier jumps up to an ungodly 2900 attack and takes out Lajin. Bandit Keith responds with nothing, so we clear away his field and attack once more with the mighty Bean Soldier. We win! Bandit Keith goes down and he doesn't give us the card we're looking for. Never fear, Free Duel is here. Heading back out to the main menu, we're going to target 2 cards. The first one being Metal Morph from Bandit Keith, and with the already improved Bean in our deck, we take on Heishin once more until he gives us a Rose Spectre of Dun. This is much easier to do in Free Duel because the absence of a Yami nerfs his spellcasters and fiends. Version 2 of our deck looks like this. We sub in the Bean Soldiers, we sub in the Rose Spectre, drop in the Spicy Metal Morphs, and give our legendary Bean his legendary sword. Getting back to the tournament, it's time for a cutscene. As our dystopian protagonist YuGiOh continues his dialogue with Joey, the whimsical voice of our queen echoes in our mind once more.
Remember, valiant soldier, Shardy is a pushover of a duelist, and if you lose to him, you suck at this game, and you should end your career right now.
Well, the plant lady has spoken. Let's jump straight into a duel with Shardy. We have a fantastic hand, drawing into 2 Bean Soldiers already. We place one in face down attack position to not scare the guy too early. In a miraculous play, Shardy pulls out a 3-card fusion into Metal Fish. This is very rare, but in typical Shardy fashion, he left it in defense mode. Popping off a forest, I give Metal Fish a love tap just to recognize that it's a good little fishy. Passing it back over to Shardy, he is suspiciously competent. He fuses out a Flower Wolf to deal with my Bean. This is by far the strongest monster I've ever seen him summon in any of my playthroughs. I am genuinely going to be checking the ROM to see that I haven't loaded the hard mod by accident. But from what I'm looking at right now, it's definitely still vanilla. Ugh. The RNG of this game has some serious beef with plant monsters. We remind Shardy of who we are, and things start to head back to normal after we clear his field. Drawing a Metal Morph in my hand, I can show off one of the spicy fusions. If you mix it with Vol Germs, it will turn into Crush Card. Very spicy indeed, but unfortunately wasted. Shardy has reverted back to being a pushover, so yeah, that was a fusion for nothing. With all that out of the way, we are now down to the last turn of the game. We fuse out another Queen of Autumn Leaves, clear away his Frog the Jam, and attack for game with Rose Spectre of Dun, and our second Queen of Autumn Leaves. We win! Shardy goes down, and he awards us with a Petite Dragon. Shardy is still a pushover, and YuGiOh steals his 2 items. Good on you, mate. Heading back to the shop, we save our game and move on to our next opponent, which just so happens to be Yami Bakura. Bakura on paper is relatively easy. He plays mostly female monsters and other cards with high defense. Drawing up our first hand, the monster we're going to summon is a 3000 attack Rose Spectre of Dun. This duel is as good as ours. Just to show off some more spiky tech, I fused Metal Morph with Electro Whip to create Raigeki. That's right, friggin' Raigeki. Wonder how many I can trigger in a single duel. Off the top of my head, I can comfortably say 6, but with the right setup when I looked at it last time, I can possibly get to 9. Remind me to make a short on that one day. Anywho, we are now down to the last turn of the game, so quickly. We pop off a second Raigeki and finish things off with Rose Spectre. We win! Yami Bakura goes down and grants us a Sagi the Dark Clown. Let's go save our game and hit up Pegasus. Okay, the TLDR. We need to contend with a 2300 attack Bazinga box and a potential 3500 attack Media Black Dragon. Let's just roll the dice and see how we go on this one. And truthfully, I've put things on long enough. It's time to resume the trivia block. Without further ado, let's kick things off with Rainbow Flower. Rainbow Flower is available in the initial deck. Its primary type is plant, but it has a secondary type of rainbow. Yup, rainbow. There aren't many monsters in this category, I think about 3, but they're identifiable in their ability to summon 7 coloured fish. Simply combine one of these monsters with a plant will give you the said card. As for the TCG, Rainbow Flower released in Metal Raiders. The card's effect had 2 erratas. The original said this monster may attack your opponent's life points directly. The second said this monster can attack your opponent's life points directly. And then finally, it reverted back to this monster may attack your opponent's life points directly. What was the friggin' point of that? Anywho, we land the final attack with Rose Spectre of Dun, and Pegasus goes down. He awards us a big deke, and we did this in one try. Up next we have Ishizu. Potential threats from her are Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, Aqua Dragon, and Black Skull Dragon. On our side, we have a metric buttload of board wipes, so I'm going to leave this in the hand of the game's RNG and continue on with the trivia. The next card on our list following Rainbow Flower is Tentacle Plant. Tentacle Plant is available in the initial deck and is one of the 100 recolored counterparts. It's a palette swap of the card Man-Eater. Tentacle Plant, however, ended up getting printed on Flower Cardian Paulonia, so I guess it's somebody's favourite out there. Congrats, buddy. Aside from that, it is an OCG only card printing in Booster Pack 6. The monster has had no anime appearances thus far. Getting back to the duel, we're on to the last turn. Ishizu plays nothing, so we clear the field with a Raigeki and attack the game with our plants. We win! Ishizu goes down and awards us an Amazon of the Seas. Briefly stealing all her jewellery, we head off and save our game, because it's time for the final opponent of the tournament. Kaiba Boy's biggest threat is Blue Eyes White Dragon, and some of the potential board wipe cards he keeps in his back row. Looking at our first turn, we power up Rose Spectre of Dun to 2500 attack. Let's hope he doesn't get a first turn Blue Eyes. Over to him, he summons, he sets Defense Neptune. Alright, that is likely an Amphibious Bugroth, but rather than check, we're just going to clear it with a Crush card. Attack for 25 and it's back to Kaiba Boy and back to the trivia. The next card we're going to be looking into is Green Phantom King. Green Phantom King is available in the initial deck. It is one of the 100 recolor counterparts, with its pair being Queen of Autumn Leaves of all things. Green Phantom King in the OCG is referred to as Spirit King of Greenery, the very same Spirit King listed in Queen of Autumn Leaves flavor text. More on that one a bit later. Aside from that, he was released in the Legends of the Blue Eyes White Dragon pack and has not been reprinted since. We are now on to the last turn of the game. Sacking our bean to his Bugroth, we summon out the weaker version of Trent's cousin and attack for game with Rose Spectre. Kaiba goes down, and he awards us with the Wicked Worm Beast. Having claimed the last Millennium item, it's time for the dream to end. Before we wake up, we have one last lucid conversation with Simon. Till next time, Blue Man, it's time to continue the story. We rise up at the Shrine of Morning Glory. Feeling more disoriented than Mr. Krabs at the Pretty Patty stall, we stumble our way to Metropolis and head to the duel grounds.
Looks like somebody had a party here and didn't invite me. Blondie, what did I miss? What's that? Mass destruction? Totalitarianism? And eggplants? My FOMO is off the charts. Be sure to wake me next time. Till then, help me wake up with a duel.
Okay, from this point on, 1800 attack monsters are simply not going to cut it. If we just summon a Queen of Autumn Leaves in turn 1, we're having a bad time. And of course, he summons Guiltia. Both of its guardian signs counter Queen of Autumn Leaves, so no matter what I picked, I would have lost either way. Getting back on track, let's continue the trivia. The next card we're going to look at is Ancient Tree of Enlightenment. Available in the initial deck, Ancient Tree is one of the 100 recolored counterparts, with its partner being Trent. This monster released in both versions of the OCG starter box and has not been reprinted since. Comparing its name to Trent, I think this tree is the favourite child. Despite Trent being stronger, this card gets the name Ancient Tree of Enlightenment. Whereas its brother gets Trent. Trent is something you yell and punchy when a blonde bogan steals your purse. Anywho, that's all for this card's trivia. Getting back to the duel, we are on to the last two turns. If you can probably hear it from my tone, I've come down with a cold. That's why things sound a bit deeper. Not sexy, just deeper. I mean, unless you're into that, I don't judge. With 250 life points left, we hand over to Jono, who wipes out our Dark World Thorns, and we summon out the Mighty Bean. Attacking Armored Lizard with Rose Spectre, Jono 2 goes down. He awards us a Candle of Fate, and it's on to Teana second. If we can hit over 1800 attack, we've won this duel. Drawing up our first hand, we have Rose Spectre of Dun. We win. So, with all that said, let's just pick up where we left off with the trivia. And the next monster we're going to look at is Firegrass. Firegrass is included in the initial deck. It's one of the 100 recolor counterparts. Like almost all of the other plant monsters for some reason. Its palette swap partner is Living Vase. In Forbidden Memories, Firegrass has a secondary typing of Pyro. So long as the primary type of plant doesn't create a fusion, it can be used for any Pyro combination. The only exception to this for some reason is Beasts. Firegrass would be expected to create Flower Wolf when fused with a Beast monster, since it's the primary type. Instead, Forbidden Memories creates Flame Cerberus instead. I believe it has something to do with the higher attack power gaining the priority in the fusion. And that's the end of that and the end of the duel as well. With the disappointing duo out of the way, we exit the grounds and make our way over to the King's Valley. Upon entering the valley, we scare the crap out of the local tweaker. Upon realizing this isn't a bad trip, he fearfully informs us that Heishin has been turning all the residents of Egypt into eggplants, and has been hunkering down in this valley ever since. He has no idea where the Forbidden Ruins are, so we leave him alone to rock in a corner whilst we go investigate the ruins of the palace.
I don't understand the Heishin. Why would you go and trash the nicest dwelling in Egypt? Overthrow the pharaoh and then what? Celebrate in the shack down the road? Oh hey, an eggplant. Ah! The eggplant attacked.
Mage Soldier. Relatively easy opponent. His deck is mainly stacked with Fiend monsters, which as you know from the Fiend video, do not fuse, unless you have a job change mirror, which he does, but at a very low percentage rate of it being in his deck. Aside from that, the strongest card we really need to contend with is Jirai Gumo at 2200 attack. Unless he decides to pull out some fusions, there is a very slim chance you'll get a Twin Head or a Crimson Sunbird at least. Being already set up to punish this guy, let's just continue the trivia. The next monster on our list is Abyss Flower. Abyss Flower is available in the initial deck and is a recolored counterpart to Dark Plant. This card released in Booster Pack 2 of the OCG and hasn't been reprinted since. There is no other trivia of note as far as I'm aware of. Awarding us a Tyhone, in its defeat, the giant eggplant revealed itself to be the Mage Soldier. He thanks us for the rescue and hands us a map. Back to Sidin we go. Gracing the hobo with our Beanly presence, he once more leads us to the Forbidden Ruins. Sidin tells us that the Golden Wall tastes like dirt. Before we get a chance to lick it, we're interrupted by Seto. Seto informs us that Heishin is mad with power and has turned most of Egypt into eggplants. Well, of course. Ever try going mad without power? It's just boring. Nobody listens to you. Seto leaves, Sidin leaves, and we're back into the overworld wondering what the hell the point of that interaction was. Rather than unpack it, we make a detour home to the Forest Shrine.
Well, smack my nuts and call me Willy. It's another eggplant. Better challenge it to a duel to see if I can fix it.
Alright, we have the Forest Mage. This is effectively a free duel. Despite the bad hand, we have a 2800 attack Alone that should be more than capable of dealing with anything he can summon. So on that note, let's continue the trivia. The next card on the list is Yashinoki. Looking like it's trying to eat its own coconuts, Yashinoki is available in the initial deck, and is also another recolored counterpart, with its pair being Snakeyashi. That's a mouthful. The monster released in Booster Pack 3 in the OCG and has not been reprinted since. The card thus far has had 0 anime appearances. Getting back to the duel, we are now onto the last turn. Popping off a trusty Raigeki for the win, we attack for game with Alone and Queen of Autumn leaves. We win! Forest Mage goes down and he awards us a Wings of Wicked Flame. Restoring the lower mage to his former self, we head up to Anubisius. As suspected, in front of us is a bandaged eggplant. Let's see if we can smack it better in a duel. Now, Anubisius has a higher attack stat than the majority of our cards. We'll need to navigate his great moth line of monsters if he manages to summon them. Looking at my starting hand, things are not going all that great. But thankfully, we seem to only be contending with a Javelin Beetle. Pulling off a spicy Metalmorph fusion, we make Crush Card and deal with the problem. Anubisius responds with a set face down, leaving us free to attack his life points with the bean. Unfortunately, we can't get too comfortable. Anubisius responds with a Great Moth, and we are back on the back foot. Drawing into another Raigeki, we are not going to take our chances, so I'm going to pop it off a bit early. He responds with a powered up Hercules Beetle, so we're in the exact same spot as before. Things aren't looking too good, and my hand isn't all that much better. Powering up a Green Phantom King, we managed to stall things out with 3100 defense. So now is as good a time as ever to continue the trivia. Our next monster was partially covered in the female video, so we're of course talking about Arlone. Arlone is available in the initial deck, and is the only plant monster you've seen thus far to be able to fuse within its own type. I gave you the explanation during the Simon portion of the video, so jump back to that if you need a run through of its fusions. Arlone is a recolored counterpart of Rose Spectre of Dun, and it's one of the 100 recolored counterparts. Seeing as we're at the end of the duel, I'll leave you with a last bit of trivia. Her name was actually mistranslated into English. It should have been Alrone, the German word for mandrake. Freeing Anubisius from the eggplant curse, he grants us one of the Millennium items as payment. Before we continue to the next shrine, we're going to jump into Free Duel and redeem a copy of Queen of Autumn Leaves from Anubisius. 119 duels later, she finally drops. Kicking out 3 of our weaker monsters, we slot her into the deck and head on over to the Meadow Shrine. We encounter yet another eggplant who challenges us to a duel. Meadow Mage isn't too bad of an opponent, so long as we can hit over a monster that's 2700 attack, that being his Judgeman. He likes to spam that a lot. And sadly, to make matters worse, our starting hand isn't all too good. Though we have access to the strongest plants, the consistency of the deck isn't all that great. I'll likely need to double down and hyper-focus more on equips for our 2 female monsters. Nonetheless, now that we're back on track, let's continue the trivia. The next card in our plant list is Maneater. Looking more like a piranha plant from Mario instead of Nelly Furtado, Maneater is available in the initial deck, and is a recolored counterpart to Tentacle Plant, as mentioned earlier. Maneater first appeared in the TCG in the Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon pack, and the 25th anniversary edition of it too. It has not been reprinted since. The card also has 0 anime appearances, and that's all there is to know. Getting back to the duel, we're on to the last 2 turns of the game. Leaving him with 500 life points, Lower Mage does absolutely nothing, so we clear his field with a Raigeki and attack for game with Rose Spectre. We win, and we're awarded with a Silver Fang. Heading up the shrine, we find Eggplant Pura. Being amazed that the eggplant is still intact, we challenge him to a duel. Kepura is somewhat of a skill check before the final 6, since I'll need to deal with his Black Skull Dragon and boosted Gate Guardians. All I can muster at the moment is a 2800 attack Queen of Autumn Leaves. And much to my dismay, he responds with a Black Skull Dragon. Uh-oh. Thankfully we have 2 Raigeki in hand, so we're going to use one. And of course, Kepura responds with another Black Skull Dragon. No change thus far. We use up our second board wipe and hope that he doesn't top deck something problematic. Clearing it away, we pass it to him and he brings out a Gaia the Dragon Champion. I can work with that. Given that it's a Saturn Guardian Star, it's weak to Jupiter, which is coincidentally what Queen of Autumn Leaves has. So we summon her and deal away with our problem. With our current problems out of the way, let's continue the trivia. The next monster on our list is Man-Eating Plants. This monster is available in the initial deck and is a recolored counterpart to Dark World Thorns. Despite appearing in the anime, the monster is an OCG only card, releasing in Booster Pack 1 and not being reprinted since. Its debut in the anime was part of episode 8 of Duelist Kingdom. It was summoned by Mokuba during his duel against Yami. Aside from that, that's all there is to know. Getting back to the duel, we are now on to the last turn of the game. Leaving Kepura with 300 life points, he sets a monster in defense, which we immediately clear away with a Raigeki. Sealing the duel with an attack from Rose Spectre, Kepura goes down, albeit after 5 losses. All of them to Gate Guardians, Dead Hands, and Skull Dragons. Anywho, being angry that we prevented him from eating his head, Kepura begrudgingly grants us another Millennium item, as a thanks for curing him.
2 mages down, but wait, my FOMO senses are tingling. There is crime afoot, and I happen to have a fetish for both.
Heading to the grounds, we find out that Teana has been kidnapped by Heishin. We book it to the rescue so that there aren't any more eggplants running around. On the way there, we bump into a roaming eggplant. Better jump in and fix this one while we're at it. Now, Labyrinth Mage, on a typical run, isn't too bad. Unfortunately, this isn't a typical run. The game currently hates me, which means Lab Mage is going to start with a Gate Guardian instead of one of its pieces. So whilst we're getting our butt kicked, let's continue the trivia. The next monster on our list is Mushroom Man. Mushroom Man is available in the initial deck, and is another one of the 100 recolored counterparts, with its pair being, get ready for it, Mushroom Man number 2. This monster has had several appearances in the Toei anime, aka Season 0. It appeared in episodes 3, 8, 15 and 20. As for the TCG, this monster released in Champion Pack 8 and has not been reprinted since. Looking at the monster artwork, Mushroom Man features on 4 other cards, those being the Law of the Normal, the Return to the Normal, the Revenge of the Normal, and the Toil of the Normal. As for the monster art itself, in the Bandai edition of the game, Mushroom Man was a red mushroom instead of a grey mushroom, and that's about all there is to know. Getting back to the duel, we are finally on the front foot in some capacity. Don't get me wrong, we are still at risk of a top deck Gate Guardian, but I'm hoping the game doesn't hate me that much. For now, we summon 2 Rose Spectres and begin chipping away at his life points. Labyrinth Mage responds to our assault with a defense position monster, which is perfect. We pop a Raigeki for the win and attack for game with both Rose Spectres. We win! Labyrinth Mage goes down and gives us a Dark Walled Thorns. Regrettably, I lost to this guy one time. I bricked my first 2 hands and he summoned a bunch of Gate Guardians on me. Sorry I don't have any footage to splice, I rage quit like an infant. Navigating the maze, we emerge to find Heishin with his eggplant out. Like anyone who has had an accidental walk-in, his instincts took over and he ran away, despite being the one in the position of power. Anywho, we find Seto2 and challenge him to a duel. No idea why, just felt like beating him up for a second time. Seto2 is a coin toss. You'll either get the 3000 attack monster cycle, i.e. those being Blackluster Soldier and Blue Eyes White Dragon, or you're going to get the I'ma slap you with my big Gate Guardian cycle, which is self-explanatory. In this duel, we seem to have gotten the former, which is great for us. So while things play out, let's slot in another card of trivia. The next monster we're looking at is Living Vase. Again, it is available in the initial deck. And as mentioned previously, it's a counterpart to Firegrass. Unlike Firegrass, however, this monster does not have a secondary type. It's just a plain piece of grass. Living Vase is an OCG only card releasing in Booster Pack 3. It has not been reprinted since the making of this video. The card as well does not have any anime appearances. Getting back to the duel, we have been tormented with some terrible hands, but thankfully we've managed to come out on top with 2000 life points to spare. So long as Seto doesn't drop any board wipes, we should be fine. At this point, he seems to be very keen on spamming the 3000 attack monsters. That face down is most definitely a Blackluster. There we go, I was correct. Thinking that we got this duel in the bag, he top decks a friggin' Gate Guardian. The game reminds me once more that it friggin' hates me. But as an act of mercy, we draw the right materials for a crush card, defeat Gate Guardian and attack for game with Rose Spectre. We win! Seto2 goes down, and I wish I could say it was a first try victory, but sadly this took 2 attempts. I ended up getting the Gate Guardian cycle, so yeah, fell on my face harder than a drunk guy in crutches. Back in the overworld, we make our way to the Desert Shrine. Let's see how we fare against this sandy eggplant. Now, Lower Desert Mage is on par in power with Martis. The strongest card both of them can summon is a 2700 attack monster, that being either Brachioradus or Great Mammoth of Golfine. Martis, however, can use equip cards, whereas the Lower Mage does not. With that explanation out of the way, we are off to a less than stellar start. But with some trusty equips, we have a 3000 attack Rose Spectre of Dun. Now is as good a time as ever to continue the trivia. This duel is as good as over. The next plant we're looking at is Laughing Flower. Laughing Flower is available in the initial deck and is one of the select few plant monsters which is not a friggin' recolored counterpart. Laughing Flower has had no anime appearances and its only release was in the OCG as part of Booster Pack 6. And that's all there is to know. I thought there'd be more on this thing, but sadly, that's it. Getting back to the duel, we're on to the last turn of the game. Losing one of our Rose Spectres, we pop off a Raigeki, once I remember my controls. Come on me, anytime now. There we go. And attack for game with Rose Spectre. We win. The Lower Mage goes down and he awards us a Sinkar. Scaling the second largest Egyptian palace, we find a masked eggplant bonking into things. Nothing too different from regular Martis, if anything, the impact is cushioned by the vegetable. Anywho, it's time for a duel. As mentioned before, High Mage Martis is about as easy as his Lower Mage. The only real threat is ourselves, and by ourselves I mean the abysmal hands this game can deal to you. On screen is a prime example of that. We are literally contending with a 2200 attack Judge Man and we are losing. Welcome to Forbidden Memories. Martis has got some decent field presence and we're down to 5500 life points. With no other way around things, we're going to dump all 4 of our equip cards into Arlone, which brings her up to 2800 attack. With momentum slowly back on our side, let's continue the trivia. The next monster we're looking at is Snake Ayashi. Snake Ayashi is available in the initial deck, and as mentioned previously, it's a recolored counterpart to Yashinoki. In the TCG, Snake Ayashi is one of the fusion materials required to create Rose Spectre of Dun, the other being Feral Imp. Snake Ayashi released in the TCG as part of OTS Tournament Pack 5 and has not been reprinted since. That sounds like a strange pack to put it in, but it's the same pack that released Rose Spectre, so it only makes sense to include it there. Getting back to the duel, we pop off a Raigeki and attack twice with our 2 females. Martis is down to 2100 life points. Drawing up our hand, we have no board wipes, but it doesn't matter. We attack the face down with Arlone and hit for game with Queen of Autumn Leaves. We win! Martis goes down and he awards us a YuGiOh. There's a confession to be made, we lost to Martis. Yes, I incurred 1 loss against this big guy due to poor RNG. Not even worth splicing in the clip. Instead, let's make our way over to the Sea Shrine. We find an eggplant floating in the ocean, so we challenge it to a duel. Seems like the right thing to do. Lower Ocean Mage typically summons Aqua and Sea Serpent monsters. You'll mainly see Roaring Ocean Snakes, but he will drop the occasional Kaminari attack, and on rarer occasions, Thunder Dragons as well. Since we're hitting for 3000, I think we're relatively safe, so let's continue. The next monster we're going to look at is Barrel Lily. Barrel Lily is available in the initial deck and does not have any counterparts. Hooray for that. Looking at the card artwork specifically, the censors did not make any amendments to the gun barrel protruding from this plant. Though it's an OCG only card releasing in Booster Pack 4, the card is present in both Duel Links and Master Duel. I've seen less censored, so I'm surprised this one was skipped. Oh well. Getting back to the duel, we're on to the final turn. Hitting for game with a Mighty Bean Soldier, we're rewarded with an Aqua Snake. Grabbing a nearby ore, we get ourselves ready to spank Secmeton's eggplant. If we happen to miss, don't worry, we still would have spanked Secmeton, and that's a win for everyone. Anywho, Secmeton's 2 biggest threats are a 3300 attack Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon if he manages to fusion summon, or a 3050 attack Crab Turtle. Neither of which should be a problem for us because we've successfully terraformed the ocean. So let's talk about plants again. The next monster we're looking at is Dark World Thorns. Dark World Thorns is available in the initial deck and is one of the 100 recolored counterparts, with its partner being Man-Eating Plant as mentioned earlier. Dark World Thorns released in the TCG as part of the Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon pack and also the 25th anniversary pack. The monster has not been reprinted since and has not made any anime appearances. With all that wrapped in a neat little package, Secmeton goes down. First try victory thankfully, and he awards us with a wing egg of new life. Being praised for our physical violence with jewelry, we're on to the final shrine of the game, and this time it's the Mountain Shrine. I usually leave this shrine as one of the last due to its difficulty, but this time round things are in our favour. The majority of Lower Mage's strongest monsters all have a Saturn Guardian Star. Saturn is weak to Jupiter, which is what all our plants have access to, so there's a free 500 attack point boost. With our first heavy beater on the field, let's continue the trivia. The next monster we're looking at is Trent. This monster drops from Mountain and Meadow Mage at any rank. Unless it drops here, I'm going to skip it for this run. It makes a negligible improvement on our deck, so there's no point grinding for it. Trent is a counterpart as mentioned earlier to Ancient Tree of Enlightenment. Unlike Ancient Tree, this card has made an appearance in the anime. It was during the Capsule Monster season. As for the TCG, it released in Metal Raiders and has not been reprinted since. Firing off the last attack of the duel, Lower Mage goes down. He awards us with a swordsman from a foreign land. We dispel the eggplant attached to his chin and continue the hike up the mountain. Entering the shrine, we find Atenza, seemingly free from any eggplants. For good measure, we decide to challenge him to a duel. I suspect eggplant antagonist Heishin simply couldn't be bothered climbing up to him. Anywho, we set ourselves up for success by dropping a forest. With the 2800 attack Queen of Autumn Leaves on the field, it's time to continue the trivia. And what better card to focus on than the Queen herself? Queen of Autumn Leaves is dropped by Forest, Anubisius, Kepura and Secmeton. Kepura has the higher odds, but Anubisius is more consistent. Queen of Autumn Leaves is a recolored counterpart of Green Phantom King. Interestingly, this card's flavor text mentions that she is the wife of the Spirit King, which is Green Phantom King's OCG name. She released to the TCG as part of Tournament Pack 2, and for Forbidden Memories, she is one of the ritual materials needed to summon Cosmo Queen. And we'll leave things at that. Atenza goes down, and he awards us with a Millennium item since we're the only person to come up and visit him. Thanks, buddy. We are now ready to face the final 6, but before we do that, we need to backtrack it into free mode and grind some cards. Given we're a little light in the equip department, we get a copy of Megamorph and Bright Castle. We kick out the next set of weak monsters from the deck and slot these right in. Our final build looks like this. In terms of power, I'm seeing this on par with our Insect and Beast Warrior decks. Only one way to find out. It's time we enter the Vast Shrine.
Okie dokie, we've cured every eggplant we can find. Physically, mentally, and consensually. It's time we put an end to the eggplant antagonist. Hold the door, babyface. Bean Daddy's got some work to do. Oh hey, a 2-for-1 deal on disappointments. How does it feel being weaker than Kepura and Atenza? Ooh, that one hit a nerve.
Royal Sebek the Powerful, and if by powerful, I mean the opposite. So long as you summon a monster over 3000 attack, you win this. Megamorph and Bright Castle are a welcome addition to this deck. Given that we're steamrolling him currently, I'm going to wrap up the last set of trivia. The next monster we're looking at is Rose Spectre of Dun. It's available earliest from Heishin, but easier to obtain from the lower Forest Mage. As covered previously, Rose Spectre of Dun is a recolored counterpart, with her pair being Alone. I'll continue the rest in the next duel. For now, we have a 3D battle. After slaying the tank with our queen, we attack direct with Bean Soldier and Sebek 1 goes down. He awards us with a Guardian of the Throne Room, and we jump straight into another fight with his recolored counterpart. Neku the Skillful. We are going to be contending with the 3150 attack Skull Knight and the looming threat of a Dark Energy equip card, if you can call that a threat. Sadly, in turn 1, I'm 150 life points short, which gets immediately punished by a Skull Knight. Uh-oh. Never fear, more equips are here. Putting ourselves in a better spot than last time, let's continue the coverage of Rose Spectre. After this 3D battle, of course. Skull Knight goes down and we're back on track. Rose Spectre's Japanese name is Evil Spirit That Lives in the Rose. It's alleged that its TCG name was based on the 4Kids co-producer Michelle Dunn. I question that as this card didn't hit the TCG till 2017, though it did exist in the video games, so your guess is as good as mine. Lastly, the monster artwork was censored for the international game release, including her 3D model. You can see all the uncensored 3D models in my female video. But enough of that, Neku goes down. He awards us a Castle of Dark Illusions, and we're on our way to the eggplant antagonist.
Yoo-hoo! Did you miss me, Heishin?
Get your ass over here.
The real challenge begins now. We're up against Heishin second. Aside from his strongest card being Gate Guardian at 3750 attack, the other 3 cards that he will almost always have in his deck are Megamorph, Raigeki, and Widespread Ruin. Megamorph has a 7.81% chance of being in the deck, and Raigeki and Widespread Ruin have a 5.86% chance, the highest odds of any other card in his pool. We're fortunate enough to have obtained a good cycle with Heishin, so let's ready our brooms and get ready to sweep. Because the last card we're covering off in the trivia is the mighty Bean Soldier. Bean Soldier can be obtained earliest from Weevil at an S power rank. The best odds, however, are from Mai at any B, C or D rank. Bean Soldier is one of the base fusions in Forbidden Memories. If you mix a warrior with a plant under 1400 attack, Bean Soldier is the result. And we'll pause things there because Heishin 2 goes down. This unfortunately was our second attempt. He beat us the first time due to a bad hand. Awarding us a Shadow Ghoul, let's continue the story. Breaking the eggplant staff, the mighty Bean Soldier has put an end to the current danger. However, like Abuela throwing the chunkler, there is more than one threat to dodge. Seto claims a Millennium Rod and runs deeper into the shrine, leading us to an underground tomb. We're drawn once more into another duel. Due to the deck power level, we're going to need a hand that has at least one Megamorph. If we have a Rose Spectre followed by 4 equips, we only hit 4000. Any Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon Seto summons is going to be a run ender for us. Thankfully for this duel, we get a cycle where we end up with a Gate Guardian. As a precaution, I'm going to lay down a Forest, at the cost of some of our life points. Thankfully, he set a trap, so it was only one hit from a Gate Guardian. Definitely running a risk in using Raigeki, we don't have all that great of a hand. And by the looks of things, neither does he. He summoned out a Blue Eyes White Dragon, so I think we're in the clear. The widespread ruin set in the back row is preventing us from attacking, so we're going to just have to play around it. In our next hand, we get enough equip cards to hit over an Ultimate Dragon. I can breathe a sigh of relief and pick up where I left off with a Bean Soldier trivia. Bean Soldier has 2 Rush Duel counterparts, those being Baked Bean Soldier and Bean Sol Jersey. The kanji that's written on the end of Bean Soldier's sword, which I believe is a falchion, spells the word plant. And most importantly, for you to obtain a copy of Bean Soldier, it released in one pack, that being Tournament Pack 1. And that's it for the Bean Soldier trivia. Getting back to the duel, we are on to the last 2 turns of the game. Seto made the mistake of leaving one of his monsters in attack mode. With our 6000 attack Rose Spectre of done, we attack into Sanger of the Thunder and hit for 3400. Seto3 is defeated. Unfortunately, I lost to him once. It was an Ultimate Dragon spam, couldn't do anything about it. Stopping Seto in his tracks, Heishin sneaks up behind us and takes him hostage.
I want the Millennium items.
Well, I want somebody to butter my ass and call me a hot piece of toast. But we can't always get our way in life. I'm just gonna set them down in this conveniently placed sarcophagus and uh-oh.
I have a feeling something unimaginably stupid is about to happen. I better check in on things.
Hey Queen, fancy seeing you here.
What on earth have you done?
My very best, Your Highness.
You've summoned a devil.
It's just the one devil.
That's it. I'm done. Do what you want. I'm gonna go grab a tea.
Well, it's just you and me, big boy. Now tell me, have you ever had a bean in your salad?
Alright, we're on to DarkNite. DarkNite should be a free duel. Regardless, as a precaution, I'm going to drop a Forest just in case we end up with an unlucky Meteor Black Dragon. And of course, there it is, unlucky Meteor Black Dragon. Fortunately, we have more than enough equip cards to get Queen of Autumn Leaves up to 3800 attack. That Forest field was immensely necessary for that one. Having both a Raigeki and a Spicy Fusion in our hand, we've won this. We pop off our first board wipe, pass the turn back to him, doesn't matter what he summons because we fuse into a Crush card and attack for game with Queen of Autumn Leaves. I have once again forgotten how to count. We've left him with 100 life points. Whoops. Summoning another Queen, we attack the face down Cosmo Queen and finally hit for game with Queen of Autumn Leaves.
Is that a second devil?
No, my queen, it's the same one. I've just made it stronger.
Why?
Let the nightmare begin. If he summons an Ultimate Dragon on us, we might be in trouble. Like with the DarkNite fight, we set down a precautionary Forest and pass the turn back to him. Thankfully, it's a turn 1 Gate Guardian. We have exactly the right amount of equip cards to hit over it, by 50 attack points no less. We're still not out of the woods yet. There is a chance that he can still top deck an Ultimate Dragon, but it looks like it's another Gate Guardian. We're going to dump some of the useless cards out of our hand and get ourselves set up for the sweep. Powering up Arlone, we hit directly for 1900, and we pass the turn back to Nightmare, who responds to us with a Black Skull Dragon. By the way, for those that have never made it to the Nightmare fight, his deck is purely comprised of monsters. No spell and traps. So long as you have the strongest card on the field, you win. And thus far, this seems to be the case. He seems to be stuck on some sort of loop of Black Skull Dragons, so yeah, we're going to let him exhaust those. Because right now, we're just biding our time till we draw the Mighty Bean. Another dragon down, and Nightmare responds with yet a third dragon. And we sadly have not drawn the Bean. Having run out of strong monsters, Nightmare has resorted to twin-headed Thunder Dragons. Sadly, no Bean. I'm going to leave it for one more turn, after that I'm going to dump the entire hand. We must finish this with Bean. After all, he's our hero, despite being a little unhinged. Gasp! A hero emerges! It's time for Bean Soldier to make his appearance on the battlefield. Powering him up with all 5 equip cards, he's hitting for a whopping 4,900 attack points. 3D battle time. Explosions ring out across the battlefield and Nitemare goes down.
Brave soldier, I have no idea how you did it, but your quest is complete. I think I need a drink after this ordeal.
Pub?
Pub.
Whilst our heroes set off on their pub crawl, it's time for the run wrap up. The campaign took 61 duels to complete, of which we incurred 10 losses. The higher number is due to said losses occurring during the final 6 and during the high mages. This meant that we had to re-defeat the previous duelists to get back to where we were. In free mode, we spent a total of 206 duels, bringing our total duel count to 267 duels for this run. Our average duel duration was 2 minutes and 59 seconds. Adding that up with the total campaign duels, this took a total of 3 hours and 1 minute to complete. In terms of ranking, I'm placing plants just below insects. Arlone is the biggest reason why this deck scraped into B tier. Having access to an 1800 attack fusion from the get-go is a massive benefit. Plants having a ceiling of 2000 attack points are really what's let them down, especially given that you need to wait until the mages to gain access to Rose Spectre, or in our case, be set up enough to defeat Story Heishin. Hey everyone, Jono here. Thank you all so much for making it to the end of this video. Hopefully I didn't give our Bean Soldier hero too crass of a script. I was going for more of an unhinged vibe, but sometimes the intrusive thoughts win. Nonetheless, I want to give a massive thank you to Sarah for voicing Queen of Autumn Leaves, despite your crazy schedule that comes with being married to me. Love you, honey. Before I sign off, I want to give a shout out to all of my supporters over on YouTube and Twitch. In no particular order, we have Hollywood Big Boss, Dark Outer 69, Denunu, Rancid Fever, Inno Wolf, Shanna Heart 33, and Madios UK. Thank you all once again, you absolute mad lads and lasses. I'm now back in the office 3 days a week, hence why these YouTube videos are taking a little longer than usual. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to stay notified for when I drop my next release. Until then, stay awesome people. Hope you all draw a Raigeki for the win, and I'll be seeing you all soon.